Hawkins would actually be the last player into the Players' Championship.
And that's so tight with Tom Ross just behind them.
It'll be a ponder here for Hawkins. He'll take a look at the first couple of cards. For Hawkins, a lot of his work has been done on the IQ circuit, but he's been traveling a lot here in season number 4 to the main events. And really, for me, his breakout performance was in St. Louis, where though he didn't win the tournament, he lost to Tom Ross in the finals. He was spectacular all weekend long.
And that's really the difference right now between Hawkins and his traveling partner, Matthew Tickle, is Tickle has not been able to cobble together the results on the Open Series that he needs, and he's really falling by the wayside in the race for the Players' Championship. But Hawkins has had some good top 8 performances and is, by no means a lock. A lot can happen in 2 weeks, but is in a good position to get to the Players' Championship in Roanoke in a couple weeks.
Gataxian Pro up here from Eric's going to target Ross. So we're going to see a Pluto Delta, a Ponder, a Misty Rainforest, a Probe for Ross as well. A Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, and an Underground Sea. Eric's going to write all that information down, move forward accordingly. Perhaps we'll see a discard spell like a Cabal Therapy. I don't say this very often, though. In this particular matchup, in a mirror, I would say Ross is just behind. Well, I think Eric is very skilled with this deck.
Well, the problem is game 1, at least, there's just nothing to do except play your hand.
Sure.
There's no interaction besides the discard spells. Even if you're a proficient Storm player, most of that proficiency manifests itself in games that involve counter spells or clock, interaction on the other side of the table. Here, not so much a factor.
We have the Storm counter out already. Are we going to go up to 3?
I think Ross has had it out there as a joke, but if you're going to put it out there,
you might as well.
You gotta keep it clean, man. You gotta move that up to 3.
Well, it is up to 3 right now because of the Lotus Petal. I don't know if Eric's going to go any further here, but he is doing kind of that finger wag, and what we've seen from Eric before as he goes through these cards. He's going to play a Cabal Therapy, so I don't think we'll see him go off this turn, but he is going to take a Ponder.
Yeah, Ross's hand has the potential for a pretty fast kill if you were to draw the right cards here. So smart of Hawkins just to cut off the cantrip, leave him with some rituals and a Gataxian Probe.
Here's a Probe. Hawkins' hand, 2 Ponders, Lion's Eye Diamond, and a Misty Rainforest. So Eric's got some work to do as far as getting prepared to go off.
Got a lot of looks at it, though.
Yeah.
And he'll have mana to work with as well.
Both players know exactly what they're up against. It's a Storm Mirror. And both these players did play in the IQ yesterday at the only game in town as well.
I think Merriam just picked up a Cabal Therapy, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him snag these Ponders.
Oh, yeah. Those are long gone. Lion's Eye Diamond, along with the Misty Rainforest. That's what's left here for Eric Hawkins. Hawkins will draw. Picked up another copy of Lion's Eye Diamond. It does not take much for him to go off from here. Briefly, I was against playing those. But because you're playing against Cabal Therapy, I think you might have to.
Yeah, here's the issue. You kind of have to cast the first one.
Yep.
Because you're worried about if Merriam has a follow-up Cabal Therapy, he's just going to name Lion's Eye Diamond, as the card knows about. Once you're in the position to play to cast the first one, you kind of want to cast the second one because you want a dead duress. So once you're playing the first one, you're playing the second one.
Now, if you're Eric Hawkins, you draw Infernal Tutor here, you go from 0 to 60.
You can win the game on the spot with the right draw here.
What he does not want to draw is Ad Nauseam. And it's unclear what his draw step was right now. But if he drew Infernal Tutor, he could just go for broke. He'd even get to have a black mana floating, or maybe a red, depends on what he wants to have floating. But he'll just pass the turn back. Merriam will draw. Here's Gataxian Probe. Past in Flames, the draw. Okay.
Good one to know about here.
Yep.
If Ross is hard casting the Gataxian Probe, most likely he has no designs to go off this turn, which means his hand's probably just still a bunch of mana, but no proactive card to pair with it.
See what's next here for Merriam. He'll play a Pluto Delta. Now he'll just pass the turn back over to Hawkins. Just wanted to get an idea of what Eric was working with in his graveyard. The graveyard not really too stocked right now, I'd say. Not a lot of rituals or anything, any of that stuff down there.
Yeah, there's not a lot to do with mana, and there's some cantrips down there because they all got stripped away by the discard spells, but it's not like passing Flames into a Ponder is worth very much if you have no follow-up, so Hawkins just kind of has to sit for the time being.
Eric taking a look. We know he's got Past in Flames. All right, there's a Delta. Looks like he might be making his move. It's also that feeling, too, when you're playing in the mirror of, well, I don't want to just sit here and wait and do nothing.
Yeah.
I got to try to do something.
Hawkins knows that Merriam is probably an Infernal Tutor or Ad Nauseam or Past in Flames away from killing him. So even if this is relatively low odds of being able to do it, he can't wait all day. Also, if his Past in Flames just gets tagged by a discard spell, then he needs even more mana, and so I think it's worth trying to go for it, even though I think the odds of Hawkins being able to win the game this turn are fairly low.
Well, it's worth a shot. Looks like he's going to sacrifice both Lion's Eye Diamonds. Now remember, Past in Flames does have Flashback. Flashback costs a little bit more than the normal cost. It'll be 5. So he'll sack both of these. He'll have to discard his Past in Flames to Lion's Eye Diamond, but that's fine as he's going to flash it back. Spell count will be 1. He's going to leave himself with a blue mana floating.
So he has essentially 4 mana and some cantrips to try to go off with.
It's going to be tough. Probe's a freebie.
I suppose the worst case scenario is you just get to probe and therapy and
That's
maybe
not so
slow
bad.
Merriam down a little bit. If you draw perfectly off these ponders, maybe you can get a kill. It seems unlikely to me. But worst case scenario is you get to stock your hand back up and go after Merriam's hand a little bit here.
It looks like Ponder did net a Cabal Ritual. There's also a Cabal Therapy and a Brainstorm here. Can't tell if Eric wants to keep or let him go.
No. Cabal Ritual and Brainstorm both seem pretty attractive to me here if you think there's any chance of being able to go off.
Yep. Therapy I'm not as excited about, especially when I have one in the graveyard already.
Yep.
But it looks like he's going to keep. We can't forget he also gets a free card because of the probe.
Yes.
So in reality, this Ponder is actually kind of a draw too in a weird way. Cabal Ritual, Double Dark Ritual, Lotus Petal, Island. So if Eric wants to cast Cabal Therapy from his graveyard, he can actually shred Ross pretty good here.
Yeah, not surprising that Miriam's hand's just mana right now. Any sort of payoff card, he probably would have been able to win the game by now, but as it's been saying, they're not doing very much, and so a hand of lands and other mana sources is not a huge surprise.
Hawkins, as far as threshold is concerned for Cabal Ritual, not going to be a problem. Has, looks like a little more than 7 cards down there.
Yeah, I'm counting 8.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to go down to 7. This is a Ponder. There's a Lotus Petal and another Cabal Ritual down there. I'm on the edge of my seat just watching him try to figure out where to go.
Yeah. And also, colored mana is a bit of an issue because he has to kind of get something kick-started here, which is the problem of casting the Cabal Rituals. Then he's cut off of blue and red mana.
Yep. So he's going to keep the Lotus Petal. And so now he's going to cast a Ponder. All right. I guess also what he could be doing is he could just be setting his hand up, Therapy Ross, name Dark Ritual, and then just say, okay, this is just a setup turn for me.
Exactly. There's basically 2 things going on here. It's if Hawkins draws very well off the cantrips, there's a possibility he can win the game this turn. If he fails to do that, he can draw some cards, attack Merriam's hand, and try to go for it the next turn or the turn after, with Merriam not really having much of a threat to kill him on the way back. Which is why you see Hawkins just went down to 6 cards in his graveyard. He might not have any designs on casting Cabal Ritual this turn. He might this might be pure setup. He still has the Ad Nauseam in his deck.
Brainstorm the draw. That's from the Ponder Shuffle. Lotus Petal maybe. Yep. Storm is up to 6. Therapy U. Storm is up to 7. I have to imagine naming Dark Ritual. Yep. Yeah, and just pass the turn back.
Yeah, and Hawkins,
it's interesting turn.
And Hawkins has left over is 2 copies of Brainstorm and a Cabal Ritual. That's a hand to rebuild with.
Ross going to play an island and quickly pass the turn back. I think his draw may have been Tendrils of Agony. Either way, I don't think it was anything too impressive. And as you mentioned, Hawkins is now just rebuilt, and he's got Brainstorms to cast, so he's going to start by casting one of those. He'll draw 3. He found a Tendrils, a Lotus Petal, and it looks like a Polluted Delta. Not a lot of interest in the Lotus Petal here for Eric. He's got more interest in the fetch land to give him a better look with Brainstorm.
I mean, he's not that far away from being able to win the game here, so.
Preordain. Both these, I think, are going to go to the bottom pretty quickly. Yep.
I think he's just looking at this point for either cantrips or a starter card like Infernal Tutor.
Keep in mind, hasn't played a land yet. Storm count of 2. He'll just pass the turn back. Over to Ross we go. It's funny, it's like there are 2 ships passing in the night, but in a weird way, not really, because they can interact with each other a little bit.
The discard spells have slowed both of these decks down considerably.
Yeah. For a deck that can kill on turn 1, and a lot of the time on turn 2, they're looking pretty normal right now, but they're both just kind of pushing back at each other. Now Hawkins will draw, both sweating each other's draw steps.
Yeah. First big draw wins, and both players are just trying to give themselves the most shots at a big draw.
Brainstorm. Eric's on a Dark Ritual now. Now remember, Eric's Past in Flames is long gone.
Well, spoiler alert, 2 copies of Past in Flames in his deck.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Never mind.
And if he's found another red card there, that's the only one there is in the whole deck.
Wow, okay.
And he's got some mana to work with. The problem is I still don't think he has anything to seal the deal. I think he can probably Pass in Flames, generate a lot of mana, cantrip a bunch of times, but he doesn't have a lock on being able to win the game.
He's got to hope to hit with the cantrips.
Right.
It's just weird because how long are you supposed to wait?
Exactly. You know, there's some spots here with this deck where you have to take a good shot that isn't a lock, especially in the mirror, because he knows he's just one big draw from the other side of the table of being dead.
Yep.
So he might have to go for it.
Delta's the land. Yeah, let's get him out again.
Yep.
All right, Storm counts 1. It's going to sacrifice the Delta. Both players have a lot of life to work with. Hawkins down to 13. He'll search up an Underground Sea. Lotus Petal, spell 2.
And colored mana is a bit of a bottleneck here. So these petals are very nice for Hawkins. What this allows him to do is he uses Underground Sea, casts all of his rituals. He casts the Volcanic Island. He taps the Volcanic Island to be able to cast Pass in Flames. And if he needs to be able to cantrip a bunch of times, he still has a bunch of black mana floating and the ability to make blue mana off the Lotus Petals.
Ross kind of doing a look at the, is that a second Pass in Flames? Oh, yeah. Oh, I play 2. They want to make sure the proper amount of mana is here.
So black mana will not be an issue.
No, not at all.
It's just, will Hawkins be able to find Infernal Tutor or Tendrils off of the cantrips he gets to use from here?
Here's Brainstorm. Duress. I don't think any of those get the job done.
It's a Gitaxian Probe, a Cabal Ritual, and a Duress, I believe.
Well, try again. I think this time Preordain shoved the 2 to the bottom. This is one of the most uncomfortable feelings if you're on the other side of the table. How'd we do?
What's also interesting about this, because of the second Pass in Flames, is Hawkins doesn't need to go all the way for broke this turn. If he doesn't find what he's looking for off the cantrips, he can say, okay, go, leave some rituals in my graveyard, still got Passive Flames, and can go for it next turn or if the right draw step comes.
Well, Ross's hand is all mana. Misty Rainforest to draw here for Eric. He's already played land for the turn. Do we try to draw cards again with this Lotus Petal?
The problem is that if he draws cards, he may not be able to get his hand empty for an Infernal Tutor, depending on what he's drawn in these couple cards here.
Brainstorm. Lion's Eye Diamond and Infernal Tutor in there.
That should do it.
That should do just fine. Yes, sir. Rit. Lion's Eye Diamond, stack it. Let's go find a Tendril, shall we? It took him long enough, but he finally got there. Many Tendrils will be cast Ross Merriam's way, and Eric Hawkins is going to win game number 1 here of our Storm Mirror. Going to go up 1. So Ross is sitting there saying, finally.
Yeah, that was an odd one.
Yes.
But Hawkins' second copy of Passive Flames there was very important. He was able to use the first one just as a bit of a rebuild and disruption, found the second one, and with the cantrips he had left over in the graveyard was able to find the right mixture of cards.
Well, to the sideboards we are going to go here for both players. I imagine they're going to look pretty similar. For Ross, since he's on the play, we'll start with him as 3 Abrupt Decays, 3 Carpet of Flowers, 2 Xanthous Swarm, 2 Chains of Vapor, 2 Dreaded Night, a Massacre, an Empty the Warrens, and a Tropical Island.
I think you're going to see the Empty the Warrens come in, maybe Carpet of Flowers. I'm a little suspicious of it in the mirror match, but it's fine as a little bit of a boosted mana, and I think the Empty the Warrens is an okay card to bring in here because both of these players attack their hands a fair bit, and so it's easier to set up a lethal board with Empty than it is to kill someone outright in one shot with Tendrils, so the extra win condition could be nice.
Other side of things here for Eric Hawkins, 3 Abrupt Decay, 2 Disfigure, 2 Empty the Warrens, 2 Xanthid Swarm, 2 Dreaded Night, a Chain of Vapor, a Rebuild, a Flush Storm, and a Tropical Island.
Pretty close to the same story here. I think the Empty the Warrens are solid to bring in this matchup. I think Hawkins wants the 1 copy of Flush Storm as well, but pretty light sideboarding for both these players.
Well, the other options, Ross will be on the play. We'll see if he can get a little bit of better draw and maybe just something that Storm normally does. Kill the opponent very, very quickly with some disruption to help out. In the meantime, we're going to talk about that Black Friday sale that's taking place with Star City Games right now. Huge savings, 4 days only. Sale ends actually pretty soon. You better head that way.
Yeah, I was browsing it myself. A lot of good deals right now on sealed product, including boxes of Battle for Zendikar, and a lot of good deals on Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, graded stuff. I know that some of the slightly played and moderately played Alpha and Beta dual lands and power, they're on sale. So if you're looking for sweet stuff for your cube or your vintage deck, it only is on sale for 4 more days, so head over there. Ends Monday, 11:59 a.m. Eastern Time. Not a lot of time left, but go do some shopping.
Best of all, you don't have to beat up any kids.
Don't have to beat up any kids. Don't have to rip any Super Soakers or whatever out of anyone's hands. You just...
I'm curious what the new age Super Soaker is.
Probably still Super Soakers, right? Those are still sweet.
Those were definitely sweet. I always wanted one of those as a kid. My dad wouldn't get me one.
No, my dad also would not.
That's actually just good parenting, I think. Those things are destructive.
I guess. I mean, I grew up in a house with hunting rifles, so it always felt hypocritical to me.
That you couldn't have one.
Yeah, this one only shoots water. It's only so much damage you can really do with that. Whatever.
Well, as these players do take a look at their opening hands, Ross Merriam's players had a lot of success in the Open Series. We've seen him at the Players' Championship. 26 years old from Middleton, Connecticut. 2 invitational top 8s to his name. 1 earlier this year during Season 1. The one, of course, that Jacob Wilson did win. 14 Open Series top 8s with a couple of wins. 2 Grand Prix top 8s as well. 2015, a great year for Ross, you would say.
Absolutely. A player with a lot of Open Series success and Grand Prix success now, and trying to get to the Players' Championship to really put a cherry on top of this year.
I'm still not a fan of the glass of milk to the side of the cereal. I'll never come to terms with that, but he is who he is.
Yeah.
And that's just fine by me.
In terms of criticisms I have of people, this is pretty low on the list of things to care about.
I agree. Gitaxian Probe will show you a couple duplicates here in Ponders and Cabal Therapies, along with an Infernal Tutor, a Gitaxian Probe, and an Island.
This is a fine hand here for Hawkins that, you know, obviously missing black mana could be a big deal, but if he's able to get Gitaxian Probe into black mana on the first turn, then he has Cabal Therapy plus a cantrip. That's a great setup. If he doesn't, then he can simply ponder and try to set things up for turn 2.
I think it's the kind of hand that Eric's going to keep a lot of the time.
This is assuming there is a second turn, which I suppose no guarantee of.
Never safe to assume. Especially when your opponent is thinking this long about what land to play. Never a great feeling. Ross was thinking Pluto Delta. Now he's thinking something else. Volcanic Island, now Ponder. Take a look at a couple. looks like he's going to keep with Ponder. Looks like he added a Lion's Eye Diamond. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Okay, just wants to get that out of his hand because he discard. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. You see Eric reach for the Storm counter right away.
Storm counts 3.
Yeah. Here's a probe. Let's get an idea what Ross's hand is. And remember, Eric didn't have black mana. Ross knows that. So you see Ross's hand. Duress, Lotus Petal, Ponder, Island, Polluted Delta, and he kept on top with his Ponder on his turn.
Yep, but again, a hand lacking a lot of action here. Pretty vulnerable to a discard spell unless the nuts have been left over on the top of Merriam's deck.
Eric with an Island, and now a Ponder. So if you're Ross, you're probably thinking you're in the clear from a discard spell.
Yeah, you would have probably seen the therapy there off of Underground Sea if Hawkins was able to find that sort of mana.
Now, it is curious if he finds a card like Lotus Petal, if you'd want to cast the Fire off a Cabal Ritual, or excuse me, a Cabal Therapy.
Well, it's questionable if Merriam left on top how much the Ponder is actually valuable in the whole equation.
Sure.
I think at this point, if I'm in Hawkins' seat, I probably just want to try to maximize my own opportunity to get as fast of a kill as possible, unless there's a very easy spot for me to therapy.
He'll leave on top with his Ponder. Draw a card. It's a Lion's Eye Diamond. Looks like he'll play at least one. There's the second one. Now he'll pass the turn back. So over to Ross we go. Remember, he kept on top. It's a black card that he drew. Here's a Ponder for now. Take a look at the top 3. He knows the first one. The next 2 are new to him. But right now, Ross knows that Eric does not have black mana for Cabal Therapy, so smooth sailing so far.
But Hawkins also left on top with the Ponder.
Yep.
So could easily be a black source of mana, and then even maybe a kill next turn, given the amount of mana Hawkins has to work with.
Ad nauseum was the draw. Now here's a Duress from Ross. He's going to search for a black source. It'll be Underground Sea. 2 Cabal Therapies, Cabal Ritual, an Infernal Tuner, and a Ponder. That's the grip here for Eric Hawkins.
I think there's a pretty solid argument here. I guess you just have to take the Infernal Tutor, it looks like. It's just too risky that Hawkins draws a black land off the top of the deck and can just go. It looks like Merriam just draws the same conclusion.
Down goes the Tutor. It's brainstorm time. Eric needs some help. I don't think any black mana there.
Yeah. I think if Hawkins could find an Underground Sea or a fetch land to go get one, his hand would be excellent.
Yeah.
As it stands, though, he can't really get anything started.
Yeah, I don't want to say he's brainstorm locked because he's a Ponder to cast next turn, but it's not good.
Right.
All he can do is pass the turn back. Nowhere to go. Merriam will draw. Ross has that Ad nauseum in hand already. He's going to play a Polluted Delta, it looks like. There's a Duress. Tendrils, 2 Cabal Rituals, Brainstorm, and a Ponder.
It's another.
That's hard.
Yeah, it's a. There's no obvious hole to poke in that hand.
That's really hard.
I guess with Hawkins' Brainstorm lost by the looks of it, Merriam would rather get rid of his way to shuffle the deck.
Lotus Petal's going to come in, pass the turn back. So we know Eric's going to draw a card that doesn't matter too much. It's a Cabal Therapy. His next card down's a Cabal Therapy too. But is he willing to cast a Brainstorm right now? He knows the top card of his deck. Doesn't know the 2 underneath it, though. You can tell he doesn't want to cast Brainstorm.
Well, it's Brainstorm to what end? I mean, if you cast Brainstorm, best case scenario is you find a land and then you just play it and say go. At that point, I think you're better served taking the extra draw step and trying to get a bit deeper.
That's what he's going to do. He'll just pass. Merriam going to sacrifice the polluted delta. This will be a basic swamp. And we might see ad nauseum here.
I was joking around like we were definitely going to be able to go to the backup match this round.
I thought so.
This one's taking a while.
Here's ad nauseum. Hold priority. See what color he wants. I'm going to assume black, but
Okay.
there's no guarantee of that.
Yeah, black seems the most likely to me because he needs to be able to start up more rituals if he finds them.
And he did play a land already this turn.
Yeah. I guess blue allows you to cast cantrips, which is more looks at rituals, and you can always start it back up with lotus petals.
Yep. All right, he's going to go black.
Yeah, I think this is slightly safer.
Spell count 1. Here we go. 15. Well, there's a petal already.
Huge hit.
Yeah, that's a good start. Down to 14. 2 petals. Let's make it 13. 12 from a probe. 10 from Infernal Tutor. He might just be able to stop there.
Yeah, this should be game, assuming Hawkins can interact.
Ross counting, just make sure his spell count will be high enough as well. You've got 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds, Lotus Petal. That's spell 5.
It's got a Gataxian Probe. I mean,
6, 7. Yeah, it seems pretty elementary from here. And how experienced Eric is with Storm, I think he knows he's probably dead. He's just going to say, Ross, you got to kill me, though. See Eric's hand. Cabal Ritual the draw. It's going to make it even easier.
So what's pretty crazy about this is, remember that Hawkins has 1 Flusterstorm in the sideboard? So he can Brainstorm in response, break one of the Lion's Eye Diamonds for blue, and if he hits the Flusterstorm, might punk him out.
I've never wanted something to happen so much in my entire life.
I just assumed this was elementary. It is not. There is a way for Hawkins to win here if Merriam just moves too fast.
Well, Ross is going to play a Brainstorm. Brainstorm done resolving. Petal. Spell 9. Tutor. Float. Crack 'em. 6, 7, 8, 9. He might have. Okay, all right. No, we just play on.
No, I wouldn't stop it here. If I'm Hawkins here, I'm trying to get it all.
All right, there's tendrils. Yeah, okay. All right, so Brainstorm. With this on the stack, blow Lion's Eye Diamond. Look for blue mana.
Come on, oh, come on.
Can he rebuy? Yeah, he
Yeah,
can keep a Brainstorm. Yeah, he can keep a Brainstorm.
He's got a redraw.
Yeah, this is great.
Adds to the storm count also.
That's true. That's true. Brainstorm again. Third card down, Flusterstorm. All right, that's it. That's it. The thing that does, it gives away a little bit of information, but I think it's probably worth it.
Something to keep in mind there for you Storm players, even if you don't have a Flusterstorm on the sideboard, in that spot you can at least bluff one by going through the motions in that sort of way.
Also true. Also true.
Never seen that come up before.
Ross Merriam going to tie things up here against Eric Hawkins. Storm Mirror going to game number 3 between Merriam and Hawkins, which means Hawkins will be on the play.
That could have been really sweet.
Oh, it would have been great. Would have been great.
Really sweet.
Maybe it'll come up in this next game. We'll see. In the meantime, let's talk game night here, folks. Let's talk about the reindeer that's on our lapels and then a very angry bear animal. This one's available in December.
Yeah, this is the December kit for Star City Games Game Night. You can get more information by heading over to starcitygames.com/game night. Stores can sign up for this program. We send out these new kits every month. Stores can run the tournament however they want to, any day of the week, sanctioned or unsanctioned. Just get the players in your store for some fun and friendly magic. December kit coming down the pipeline. Too late to get signed up for this one, but if you want to get signed up for January, where we got the Grizzly brand, head over to StarCityGames.com/game night for more information, or contact your Star City Games in-store play representative. Canadian players and store owners, keep in mind, we have changed the shipping rates. We are now just charging U.S. domestic shipping to get these kits out to Canada. So if you haven't signed up before because of the cost of the kits, again, StarCityGames.com/game night for more information. Contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
Who would you rather run into in an alley? Grizzly brand or Brock Lesnar?
Probably Grizzly brand. Grizzly brand could be friendly. You don't know that for sure.
Brock Lesnar could be nice.
The answer is probably Brock, because Brock's got a lot to lose by knocking me out. Like,
Okay.
He could get sued. It's bad press.
I guess that's all on the table there. Both players going to take a look at their openers.
I don't know if he's necessarily a bad dude. It's just intense. You know?
Very scary. Who would win in a fight, Brock Lesnar or Grizzly brand?
I don't know. The sides seem really rough to beat.
Here's a good taxi from Eric Hawkins. Both players going to keep their opening. You see Ross's hand. He's got a Cabal Ritual, a Probe, a Duress. It's like a Dark Petition. And Infernal Tutor, a couple lands here.
Very slow hand.
Yeah. Again, I think players, when you're on the draw in this match, you probably just keep your hand space off of discard spells.
It's a piece of interaction, and there's a lot of ways for that hand to shape up into something very good. That can't be a mulligan, or else you're just mulliganing way too many hands.
Yeah. Here's a Pluto Delta. That'll search up an Underground Sea. What's next here for Eric? I like that both players get the storm counter for each other.
Yep.
So am I dead, or how does this work? Ponder. Not dead. Oh, okay. Put it up to 2. Still could be dead.
It's another hand where I'm not sure Hawkins has more land drops to make.
It doesn't look like he has much land in his hand. Well, Eric's going to keep with the Ponder. Found a Lotus Petal. Spell 3 and no more here for Eric. Over to Ross will go. Here's a Probe. Brainstorm, Ponder, top, Probe, Cabal Ritual. I'm very curious what's on top of the deck. Merriam will draw. Polluted Delta. Got to bring Ross down to 17. Here's Duress. All right, Hawkins, no interest in maybe trying to hide anything with Brainstorm. I was curious if maybe that would work its way in.
I think at this point, Hawkins just needs to accrue enough resources to do anything.
Okay.
And he can't. And his hand's also pretty redundant in this spot. There's a lot of cantripping, and the one ritual is valuable. But at the point where you're sacking your mana to save a ritual to prevent Merriam from taking that, but he still has to take some other card, I think you just got to let this go.
Yeah.
You can't really fight that kind of fight.
Well, there goes Brainstorm. Probably the most powerful card in Eric's hand.
Well, I think Brainstorm's the most objectively powerful. If you wanted to try to poke a hole into it, you probably want to go after the ritual there. But because Hawkins gets to look at so many cards because of all these cantrips, you probably just want to take the most objectively powerful card.
Time to shuffle with the Ponder. Eric not liking what he sees. So, mystery card on the way. And this matchup is it's an intricate one. Just when are you supposed to try to go for it when you might not have it all the way?
It seems like both players have taken the philosophy of when the spots have looked good enough. They have not waited for 100% hammer locks to be able to go off here, because there is always the risk that the other side just kills you.
Misty Rainforest, the draw. Lands are good. I don't think Eric wants a ton more, but lands are good.
I mean, if he shuffled with his cantrip, I assume that means he was just on the hunt for a land drop more than anything else.
Here's Probe. See Ross's hand again. Infernal Tutor was the draw. So you see 2 Infernal Tutors, a Delta, Dark Petition, Cabal, Ritual, and a Swamp. Well, interesting. Sacrifice Misty. And get a Volcanic. And now here's top. Card that does a nice job against discard.
Yes. Though it is quite slow.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I think it might be go time with the way Ross is moving his cards around.
Well, Dark Ritual plus his fetch land is 5 cards in the graveyard. He can get to Spell Mastery on the Dark Petition. That means that his second Cabal Therapy Cabal Ritual worst case scenario is thresholded. That's a lot of mana plus a Demonic Tutor. And you got to move in this matchup.
Yeah.
Hawkins could always untap and kill you. So this might be, again, one of those not quite a hammer lock, but definitely good enough to go for it kind of spots.
Don't want to miscount. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that he can Dark Ritual and then Cabal Ritual and Dark Petition. That gets him to a Demonic Tutor plus a Dark Ritual floating plus a threshold for the second Cabal Ritual. That seems like it's got to lead to somewhere good.
Well, he's going to start with Dark Ritual. Here's Infernal Tutor revealing Cabal Ritual.
Sure, this is another way to do it.
Yep.
All paths lead to the same place.
6 cards in the graveyard now. 1 black floating. Cabal Ritual. Up to 3. Down to 1, up to 6.
At this point, he might just be able to Dark Petition for Past in Flames.
No red.
If he has no way to kick up red, I guess.
Get Lion's Eye Diamond. He's got another Infernal Tutor.
Okay, yeah, right. You can start it up this way.
Get some red here. Looks like 5 mana floating. Spell 7. I think this gets Past in Flames.
He's got a lot of mana to work with. He has a Dark Ritual in the graveyard to kickstart everything again, and an Infernal Tutor, and et cetera, et cetera.
Dark Writ, up to 3. Cabal Writ, down to 1, up to 6. Dark Petition can be played as well.
Now the question is, if I can't recall going back to the last turn, is Hawkins' top card of deck a mystery?
I think so.
So we still have
the Flusterstorm out?
Naked Divining Top.
Okay, we still have the Flusterstorm out. Hawkins' hand is garbage. Dress away Infernal Tutor. I hope Ross hasn't found himself here.
Well, if Ross respects Flusterstorm, he wants to have as much mana floating as possible.
Okay.
Because then you can kind of muck up some of the way that Flusterstorm interacts with Storm cards.
All right, here's Infernal Tutor. Okay, he's empty-handed. I just wanted to I wasn't sure.
But if he's tight on mana, then it becomes problematic.
He's going to go get a Lion's Eye Diamond.
I think he's just trying to leave himself with as much mana as possible to play around potential Flusterstorm. Because Hawkins has to announce where his Flusterstorms go, and Ross can let some of them get countered and pay for the other ones depending on what the distribution is.
Dark Petition now.
I mean, see, but the storm count now is at 14.
Yep.
He's got plenty. There's no reason to go through the motions that he's going through right now, just to do it.
Yep.
He's got to he has to care about Flusterstorm to go through all of this.
He's got Spell Mastery. Gonna get Tendrils from Dark Petition. 3 black flow. He gets 3 black because of Spell Mastery. So he has exactly enough. Yeah, it's just trying to play around Flusterstorm right now. That's it.
I mean, Hawkins' hand is nothing.
Yep.
It's just
Trash.
nothing going on there, so it's not like Ross is worried about something going on there.
Yeah, here's Tendrils. Not even gonna cast Probe. Eric's gonna draw a card. That's a brainstorm. That's not gonna do it. Ross Merriam's gonna win this match here over Eric Hawkins. 2-1. The Storm here goes to number 8 on our Season 4 leaderboard, and for Ross, it's a big win for him. It's been, I don't want to say slipping away for him, qualifying for the Players' Championship, but he's been taking a little bit of a backseat as far as Magic is concerned, playing in Grand Prix and Pro Tours and other things like that.